Hello painters, it's Debbie from acrylicpouring.com and today I'm back to work on some tiles. Now I don't know about you, but I hate to waste paint, so if I have any paint that's spilled over on the surface or a little bit left in my dirty pour cup, I'll often get one of these small tiles. You can see I've done this one several times, and I'll either dip it into the wasted paint or I'll just tip the rest of my dirty pour on here. And a lot of the time, of course, I end up with a lot of tiles and they're all kind of individual, they're orphans, you know, they don't belong with anything else. And I'm thinking, well, I've got a lot of these individual tiles, what can I do to make them a set? So I've selected these four, and you can see they're not really the same. The colours are kind of similar, but they don't look like a cohesive set. One of them even is already varnished. I've put a polyacrylic on here already. These ones are unfinished. And I thought if I use a stencil and put the same stencil on all of them, I can make tiles that don't look completely the same. I can make them look similar enough, I think, that maybe they will work for a set. So I'm going to use this Decor Americana doily. This is a nice stencil that I've got here. I'm also going to use this paint, and I think I'm going to love this, but we'll take a look at that in a little minute. First thing I need to do is I'm going to put some spray adhesive. I've got this one here on the back of my stencil because I have found in the past that I'm not very good at stenciling. I can't hold it very steady, and I'm thinking if I put some of this is one of those removable or kind of temporary spray adhesives, so I'm going to spray this one on the back of my stencil. I need to do it in a well ventilated area, so I'm going to go outdoors and do that now, and then I'll be back and we'll have a go at stenciling onto these tiles. So I've used the tacky kind of adhesive thing, and my stencil is stuck on there pretty good, so I'm happy that I've got a good seal for that. So let's take a look at this paint. This is the Decor Americana Decor Metallics, bright metallic paint in silver, I assume. What's it called? I don't know which colour. Oh, there we go. Sterling silver. And what I liked about this, when I took the lid off, it actually looks like molten metal. Take it off. It just looks what I imagine molten silver would look like. It is so nice, so glossy. You can see all the little sparkly bits in it, so I think this will look great. I've not tried it in any kind of pour or anything yet, but I thought it would look really great for this stencil. So I'm going to use this one. I should have read it before I turn the top off. The directions say shake well, apply using a soft brush or roller. On a smooth or sealed surface, apply a base coat or primer or sand lightly for better coverage. So I think on these unsealed ones it will be fine. On this tile that I've got that already has the varnish, I'm going to test it on that, but I'm expecting that it may not give the best coverage, but we will see. It may or may not stick well to that. Apply coats as needed to achieve the metallic finish ranging from semi-transparent to solid. So probably one coat won't be enough, especially because I'm doing it over some quite bold colours anyway. So I'm going to do 2 coats. So this is the paint that I'm going to use. Let's pop that there. And of course I need a stencil brush, and I went over the entire island looking for a stencil brush or some kind of little sponge dauber, and this was the only one I could find. This, oh there we go, looks like it belongs in a doll's house. It is so tiny, got a tiny little end, so it is going to take me a long time, and I'm sure you don't want to watch me doing this in real time. There's nothing exciting about stenciling, although I have to say I've not really done it before, so I wouldn't know, but I think I probably don't want to put too much on my brush. And then I'm just going to put a little bit over on the side. Maybe I should pick some out with my stick. Just put a little bit over on the side and load the brush, and then using kind of a downward motion so that I don't brush it underneath the stencil, I'm just going to pop it over the top. And I'm going to, as you can see, I've got my stencil kind of offset. I didn't want it right in the middle, so we will see how this turns out. Again, it's the kind of thing where it's not that exciting to watch, so you probably don't want to watch me doing this in real time. So I'll carry on with this, and then I'll speed the video up, and we'll take a look once I've got it all finished. So I finished my first coat with my stencil. As I said, it's the first time I've ever done stenciling with a little brush, so whether I've put too much paint on, not enough paint, or whether I forced it under the sides, I really have got no idea. I probably want to do a second coat, like I said, but I'm not sure whether I should take the stencil off or not, because it would no doubt make it easier to do a second coat, but would it pull the paint off? I don't know. So I am going to take the stencil off, leave it to dry. That means I can clean my stencil off, of course, and then I can always practice on another one, and if this one doesn't turn out quite as expected, practice makes perfect after all. So let's lift this up and see if I did a good job or a terrible job with my first ever stenciling. Oh, wow, there we go. That was not so great, was it? If we have a look on the back of my stencil, I've got some of the paint from my tile has actually come off just here. So although I made my stencil nice and tacky, so tacky that it stuck down to my towel really well, it actually pulled up some of the paint. So that wasn't great, was it? Okay, well, we live and learn from those kind of mistakes. So I'm going to clean off my stencil now, make sure I get maybe quite not so much glue on it next time, and then I'll have a go with another towel and we'll see what happens. Well, I've been practicing a little bit more off camera, and I think I'm going to rename my channel. It won't be Debbie Acrylic Pouring, it'll be Debbie's Painting Disasters. I think this is why you like to watch, because when I say I'm trying this for the first time, let's see what happens, you know that that's absolutely genuine and anything can happen. So this is the first tile that I did. And as you can see, the paint on it is really, really nice, except of course it pulled off this big patch here. This is just one coat of paint, and as you can see, it's very glossy, very shiny. The paint looks really, really good. The stenciling is not bad at all, but I pulled off that bit of paint with the glue on the stencil. So I tried again with the stencil, and I did exactly the same thing. So it wasn't just a fluke. I managed to pull a bit of paint off here and over here, and even, I don't know if you'll be able to see, yes, I think you probably can. You can see this line here, this kind of matte line. Actually, the glue that I put on the back of the stencil is actually transferred to the paint and left a really nasty residue. So it's just not working for me at all. I don't know if I've got the wrong thing. I'm probably putting it on far too heavy. But anyway, I thought, well, this obviously is ruined. It's got this nasty glue all over it. I've pulled something off. So maybe I could try with the spray paint instead. So what I did, I've got the silver underneath, and then I slightly offset the stencil. I cleaned all the glue off of it and just held it in place while I sprayed over. The only spray paint I've got is black, so that was the only colour I could use. But in fact, it looks kind of nice. You know, you can see the slight outline of the silver with the black on the top. It's got a nice sparkle to it. And I think if it hadn't been for the fact that I pulled that great big chunk off, then this one would be a success. So now that I didn't have any glue on my stencil, I tried again. And as you can see, the finish on the paint is really, really nice. I love this paint, love this paint. But without the glue on the stencil, I wasn't able to get such a crisp result with my stencil. And again, it's more than likely it's user error, because it's the first time I've ever done stenciling. I really don't know what I'm doing, how much paint I've got to put on, and I suspect that I had far too much paint, or I was pushing too hard with my brush, and I basically pushed the paint under the edges of the stencil, which is why I wasn't able to get such a nice crisp finish. However, obviously without the glue on the stencil, then I didn't damage the surface of the tile. So you see that shine on there, that silver paint's lovely. So last but not least, this is the one that was pre-varnished, and so I just went straight to the spray paint with this one, just held the stencil over the top and spray painted it, and as you can see, I've got a really sharp finish. So the stencil I know is good. Actually, this one doesn't show up very easily in the light because it's got a gloss varnish on it already. But the results of the stenciling are very, very sharp and clear once I'd used a spray paint. So I think it's definitely user error in terms of not knowing how to stencil. So as usual, the idea, I came to it with a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of positive thoughts for success, and user error prevented it being successful as always. However, I think the idea is a valid one, and if you are better at stenciling than me and you don't get your paint kind of seeping under the stencil, then you can probably get some really nice results. This one is really great. apart from, you know, the problem with the glue. So there's probably better glue that you can use on the back of these stencils. I just kind of used what I had in the cupboard from the DIY store, and it left a residue or it pulled the paint off, so that wasn't a good choice, but you can probably get better ones. And I think just looking at them, I mean, as a set, obviously they weren't successful, but as an experiment I learned a lot from it, and I think it's definitely got some merit going forward, that if you have some tiles that don't match, then, you know, if you used a similar stencil on all of them and stenciled a design, you know, you can probably see it on this one the best. If you stenciled a design like this and then slightly at an angle and then, you know, maybe one in the center, then you could make a set from orphan tiles that looked a little bit more cohesive. So anyway, that's a long rambling way of saying that, as usual, user error prevented success with this project, but I think it's a good idea. And certainly the stencil is a really nice one. This is the Deco Art Americana doily stencil. As you can see, it's black now where I've used it with my spray paint. And this is the lovely Deco Art Americana metallics, like a molten silver, which again has definitely got some merit to it, and I'll be using that, I think, in some future projects. So thank you very much for watching. Hope to see you at acrylicpouring.com very soon, and please check out some of my other videos where I'm more successful usually. See you soon.